Good afternoon. Welcome to the forecast discussion for February 1st, 2014. It's currently 12:23 p.m. We have warming conditions as we are going to be dealing with a very comfortable weekend on the way, far better than what we started off with last week, with temperatures rising this afternoon into the mid to upper 40s for highs throughout the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. Notice winds are from the east and also from the southwest, depending on your location, as an cold front approaches the region by tomorrow afternoon. But before that cold front reaches the region, we're going to be dealing with some very pleasant weather conditions. And then snow returns for Monday. It could be rather significant, especially for the Philadelphia metropolitan area and central and southern New Jersey. But let's take a look at the radar for now. And enjoy this. Dry conditions, warm temperatures, nowhere near 19 degrees. Very comfortable. All the precipitation will remain off to the west, and it can stay there, with periods of heavy snow over Michigan that will be nowhere near us through the next 24 hours, with very tranquil and comfortable weather conditions. By tomorrow afternoon, the rain showers will move through the region, exit by the time the Super Bowl starts. Can't rule out an isolated shower, but for the most part, very comfortable weather conditions will be in place. On the infrared satellite picture, you can see this cold front and areas of low pressure developing. They're going to lift north and east and slowly drag this cold front towards the east coast. Now, between now and that time period, temperatures are going to remain above normal. Tomorrow morning's lows in the lower to mid 30s. Tomorrow afternoon's highs ahead of the cold front in the mid to upper 40s. And then by the time we get to the game time at 6:30 p.m. for the Super Bowl in East Rutherford, New Jersey, yes, the Super Bowl is in New Jersey, temperatures will be falling through the 30s through the game. Looking for game time temperature to start around 42, falling through the 30s, probably ending around 35, 36 degrees at the end of the game, with the northwesterly wind at around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting to 25 miles per hour at times. Then it gets very interesting. This disturbance down here is going to be one to watch over the next 24 hours. I'm going to be watching to see how much moisture is picked up from the Gulf of Mexico and how dynamic this disturbance is. Also, as our polar air mass advances into the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area, how far south does this cold front get, and how cold is the air mass? A couple of key questions that still need to be worked out, but it's pretty clear at this point we're looking at a light to moderate snowfall for the New York City metropolitan area and a moderate to heavy snowfall for the Philadelphia metropolitan area, as this disturbance interacts with the polar jet stream to produce a band of moderate to heavy snowfall over the region. Now, the key to the whole forecast moving forward is how much moisture is picked up here. Some models, like the new Canadian model guidance, is very aggressive, with as much as 10 inches of snow over portions of central New Jersey back through southeastern Pennsylvania. Other models are not as aggressive, ranging from about 3 to 6 inches. I think that 10-inch snowfall potential is real. The question is where, and whether it's going to be as widespread as the Canadian model guidance suggests. And really that completely depends on how much moisture this disturbance is able to pick up, and also how fast and how far south does the polar air mass advance. So the model of choice I decided to focus on is the Canadian model guidance, because quite frankly it's been handling this pattern the best. It's been advertising this storm for quite some time. It just makes the most physical sense. So taking that into account, first we start off with this afternoon, temperatures in the mid to upper 40s. By tomorrow morning, looking at temperatures in the low to mid 30s with some rain and snow showers. No accumulation expected, but a bit of a nuisance. It might spook some people. No worries here. For the afternoon, evening, a few isolated showers, but notice all the moisture is pooling back towards the Gulf Coast and the southern plains of the Mississippi River Valley, with our disturbance intensifying. The more moisture that this disturbance is able to draw northward, the more significant the snowfall will be, provided that the polar and Arctic air mass is able to drop south on Sunday evening. So here we have our polar air mass building south, dropping south towards the region. The idea here on all the model guidance is that the cold air falls drives through the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area ahead of this storm. And then by the time we get to Monday afternoon, the cold air is definitely locked in. Precipitation's moving through that cold air, and you get light to moderate snowfall over the New York City metropolitan area and moderate to heavy snowfall over the Philadelphia metropolitan area off towards central New Jersey. Now, this forecast is still has to be tweaked a bit and worked out, but the general idea here is that we're looking at a pretty impressive snowfall event for the region that I've been warning about. Hey, watch out for these disturbances because they're poorly forecasted and they could lead to a lot of problems. And that's exactly what we're going to be dealing with here. So I'm just going to jump to the forecast here. Now, this is the first call. What I'm expecting for the northern interior is basically a trace to an inch of snow. This really isn't your game here for Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Hartford, New Haven. There's a potential, depending on how much moisture is able to be drawn northward, that we could push this up to the 1 to 3 inch range in this area. But right now, I'm not currently expecting that. Over the New York City metropolitan area, back towards Allentown and Pottsville, looking at 1 to 3 inches of snow. Again, the idea here is that there's going to be a tight moisture gradient here with the cold air building south. So I think the best dynamics currently forecasted is around the Philadelphia metropolitan area, southeastern Pennsylvania, off towards much of central and southern New Jersey. So I'm looking at a light to moderate snowfall here, 1 to 3 inches, and 3 to 6 inches, or locally as much as 10 inches of snow possible in central New Jersey, the Philadelphia metropolitan area, and also southeastern Pennsylvania. As we get closer over the next 24 hours, I'll fine-tune this forecast a bit more, the general idea of what to expect here. If we get more moisture, I'm probably going to push this 3 to 6 inch line further north towards the New York City metropolitan area. And then for the Philadelphia, Philadelphia, central New Jersey, and southern New Jersey, I might bump this up more to like a 4 to 8 or even a 5 to 10 inch type snowfall forecast once we get a real good idea via the water vapor of how much moisture is being drawn north and how fast this cold front is dropping south for tomorrow evening. The faster the cold front drops south, the more cold air is in place. So I'm working on details as far as whether there's going to be more mixing over southern New Jersey, let's say around Cape May. That could limit your snowfall totals down to maybe around 2 to 4 inches. And then for the New York City metropolitan area, you get a little bit more moisture. Maybe that bumps you up to, let's say, a 2 to 5 or a 3 to 6 inch type snowfall threat. Meanwhile, central New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia metro, basically York and Lancaster, Reading, Philadelphia, Burlington County, Ocean County, Monmouth County, Atlantic County. Be on guard with this storm because it's going to have the potential to produce a heavy snowfall event on Monday morning through Monday afternoon. So that's basically the idea here, looking at start time between 1 and 3 a.m. on Monday, ending between 4 and 7 p.m., the worst conditions from 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. Once that storm exits, now the important thing to understand here is that the impacts of this storm impacts the other storms moving forward. So if I sound a bit vague for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and for this upcoming next weekend, it's because we need to get this storm out of the way to understand what's actually available as far as the cold air at the boundary levels, to really understand what type of a storm we're dealing with for Wednesday. I'll give you a great example. So the storm exits, we have fresh cold air in place with a fresh snowpack, which means that the lower levels are colder, right? Well, we got that factor in place, and then we have a storm that develops. Now, it looks like what we're going to be dealing with is a low pressure system that's going to lift up towards the Ohio River Valley via the subtropical jet stream, but it runs into a block called the polar vortex over Quebec. So this storm must redevelop towards the coast. The problem here is that the mid-levels warms up. And if you just look at 850 millibars, you would say to yourself, well, that looks like pretty much a rain event for Philadelphia and New York City, the interior heavy snow. The problem is that if you have a fresh snowpack in place with a fresh polar/Arctic air mass in place, those type of air masses do not like to give way very easily. And we have a high pressure system to the northeast of this low pressure system, not in a perfect position, but just enough to keep that cold air locked in. And then you have a secondary low pressure system developing along the coast. It becomes the primary low rather quickly. A lot of this precipitation here that would not be snow may in fact be sleet and freezing rain. We really have to nail down exactly what the timing is of changeover, where that low level freezing line is going to be, and what type of impacts. If you're right along the coast, let's say at Belmar, JFK, the south side of Long Island, most likely you'll go from snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain rather quickly as well. However, just 5-10 miles away from the coast could be a far different solution and far icier as well for Wednesday afternoon. And we really have to watch this potential so that way we don't jump the gun here. So we got to keep an eye on that storm. If you're in northeastern Pennsylvania, congratulations, you're getting your heavy snow. It looks like it's going to be a pretty significant snowfall event up in northeastern Pennsylvania, northwestern New Jersey, the Hudson River Valley, and the northern 2/3 of Connecticut. That storm exits, Pattern sets up, gets ready to rock. Then we have another disturbance to watch out for Saturday and Sunday. Now, after this storm leaves, high temperatures are going to be in the lower to mid 30s, so it's going to be cold enough for snowfall, that is for sure. Could be a few mid to upper 20s over the northern interior for highs as well for Thursday and Friday. And then we're going to have to watch out for this disturbance. The European model guidance from last night was very aggressive with this storm potential for next weekend, producing a significant snowfall for the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. Canadian model guidance is kind of on the same page, especially with the ensembles, but it doesn't have as aggressive a development right now in the latest 12Z guidance. This is something we've got to keep an eye on. No reason to give details, snowfall maps, or any of that nonsense right now. We have to get this first storm out of the way, see what happens with the second storm, see how that influences the 500 millibar pattern, and then we could talk about next weekend. That is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe out there.